Welcome back to the show, everybody. Take a look at these numbers while we run the headlines. Jerome Powell's talking about a new normal. Legal analyst shares some wild speculation on an XRP outcome. Careful, everyone. And MasterCard Hamilton Reserve Bank, what do they have to do with Ripple? Well, somebody roll that beautiful intro and we'll find out.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook for exclusive content. $976 billion market cap for crypto. Check out that Coin Paprika app. Right now, Bitcoin, 19,100, Ethereum, 1,300, and XRP is 49 cents this morning. We are up 34.79% on the 7-day. Now, it's been as high as I think it was 55 cents, but we will keep an eye on whether it takes a breath here and continues its march on up, or whether we see a pullback to some earlier support lines. We're going to hear from a technical analyst before we get out of here today. I think you might like what they say here. But this is Michael Branch telling us whales have shifted 3 lumps of crypto, 3 lumps of coal, no, 3 lumps of crypto, carrying 95 million, 60 million, 30 million XRP tokens. Transactions were made by holders between accounts on Bittrex, Bitso, BitGo, and Bitstamp. So there you have that. Now, it's also believed that this 395 million moved here could be 2 separate events. Now, we're not quite sure. I'm always fascinated by this because I think it really is catering to on-demand liquidity, and that would be the best case scenario if it was. Now, best case, worst case. This is probably not good, what we're going to hear right here, but let's go ahead and play this from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell about what he says about the new normal and disruptions of the economy here.
We wanted to hear directly how our monetary policy decisions were affecting people's daily lives. So then the pandemic comes and upends everything, the way we work, live, learn, and conduct business. And we kept these conversations around Fed listens going. And we thought we gained valuable insight, which continues to help guide our policy decisions. And I also think we delivered good transparency about how the Fed works to the American people through this process as well. So these events have now become a permanent fixture of our broader outreach. And my colleagues and I remember, I'm sure we remember each one of these events that we've been part of. They're really the real life embodiment of our policies and the way they affect the people that we serve. And they do inform our thinking as policymakers. So we continue to deal with an exceptionally unusual economic set of disruptions. As policymakers, we're committed to using our tools to help see the economy through what has been a uniquely challenging period. The insights you share in these events help us to home in on the challenges and opportunities that are shaping what we might think of as the new normal of the American economy. And it'll inform us as we try to get there. We wanted
a new normal, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're talking about. You know what? Just like back when the pandemic took place, right? In 2020, March of 2020, I remember having a very, very specific conversation. Mrs. Backup remembers it too. You know, this shutdown was taking place. It was all being talked about. Everything was going to happen. It was only going to be for 2 weeks. Ended up being, obviously, as we know, more than 2 years. And in that time, I remember, the general concerns amongst everybody, oh, we got to do more with less. We have to save. We have to do all these things. I actually doubled down on my life in that moment. I went the opposite direction of the masses. And I'm going to do the best I can to do the opposite of that here, because I don't want to accept a new normal for myself and my family. That doesn't mean that he's not right about what's coming to the world. I think there is a big, big mess coming to the world. And to further that point, the fact that Jerome Powell is willing to say it from the Federal Reserve Chair, I think it tells us just how big a new normal moment might be with a lot of pain in it. And one of the ways I'm trying to alleviate that is with my sponsor and me as a customer, it's GlintPay. It's the gold-based alternative to banking, hashtag GoldFi. And by the way, they're building a bridge to crypto as well. How about that one? Not to mention the fact that A lot of people are saying that gold could be $2,000 or over by the end of the year. Not financial advice. Link for it underneath of the video. If you try that card, you'll never not have it again. I'll tell you that much. Incoming Kraken CEO Dave Ripley says his company does not intend to register with the SEC. He insists that Kraken does not list assets that are securities and says that it has no plans to do so. Well, David Ripley, I tell you what, congrats to you. You're probably going to be the first one to be sued by the SEC, but I love the stones on you, brother. I mean, you know, that's the way you got to do it. You got to take this fight to the hole. And Dave Ripley plans to do that if the SEC comes their way, apparently. And let's get into this now, because this is some highlights screenshotted from JV here, sharing with us saying, can someone explain how Ripple XRP ODL sales work? I don't see how Ripple and their partner specific ODL sales are beneficial for the secondary market. Here's what the SEC has to say about those sales. I could see on-demand liquidity would be beneficial without Ripple's distribution. Well, if we just take a quick look here, and basically it talks about how it launched the on-demand. It says on-demand customers, resales of XRP into the market, was so swift that Ripple took steps consistent with its commitment to strong financial incentive to support XRP markets. To minimize its market impact, it has done for prior institutional and programmatic sales. In fact, before Ripple enacted XRP-O, which is origination there, it says it worried that the resulting resale of XRP could negatively impact the XRP markets. It says Ripple thus decided to buy back a portion of XRP it was selling. Yeah, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you because you can read the whole thing. But what I will share here is Anders, who says the more on-demand liquidity volume, the more market makers will hold XRP, the less XRP available on the secondary market. Bingo, says SAP. Absolutely. You know, and the reality is that retail is, in fact, a part of that liquidity draw at this point. But it is also a fact that we have to consider that the SEC lawsuit is what has scared exchanges and made them delist XRP. Now, why'd they do that? The SEC is supposed to be protecting investors, but they don't care about the 73,000+ investors that are being represented by John Deaton, thank God, in the class action lawsuit, do they? So the truth is that whatever's going on here with the SEC, it's not about protecting us, because if they wanted to protect us, they would leave XRP alone, let it remain on the exchanges, and retail would be contributing even more to the environment when it comes to helping build liquidity. But ultimately, we know that institutions have way more liquidity than retail could ever bring to the table, and certainly the banking institutions and legacy firms. Then you have to start speculating, if you have a brain, and you know that you do, you know, you have to start speculating, well, if they're trying to minimize the U.S. retail investor from having it, and the mission statement of the creed of the agency SEC is to protect us, then why are we being affected because the SEC is scaring the exchanges from listing it to begin with? Then it comes down to security, not security. Right? What is this thing? I happen to believe that whatever this thing is, it's not going to harm the intended use, because I believe Jerome Powell even understands that something is coming that is going to bring a new normal. And I got a feeling this new normal doesn't come with a free trip to the beach. I got a feeling this new normal is going to suck. And I think the people in the governments and the banking systems, they understand it too, because this collapse is not about real estate swaps that have been repackaged, ladies and gentlemen, right? This collapse is about money. Fiat money. Looking at this right here from Bill Belisarius, any purchase of XRP at any time by anyone, according to the SEC, if you buy an XRP, you invest in a common enterprise with Ripple, with me, with Moon Lambo, and with someone who bought XRP in 2016 and sold it in 2018, no matter what you did with it, the SEC's formulation, not mine, he says. Absolutely. There's some agreement through this thread, all of this stuff. Matt from Moon Lambo says here, makes sense, but I think it's still, I don't understand something sufficiently. Can you help me make sense of this? I just don't understand why people got so excited the SEC's motion for summary judgment purely because it doesn't blatantly state XRP equals security. He shares a tweet here about that, but then the conversation goes, my guess is that people expected a stronger brief, says John Deaton. I'm not with everyone who thinks the SEC can't on some level, but the SEC offered no evidence on XRP holders relying on Ripple's promotion or promises, etc. I was expecting their experts to discuss social media and examples, etc. Moon Lambo says here, that makes total sense here. Additionally, it seems like you're saying the SEC is arguing XRP is a security, and Hogan is saying that the SEC is not arguing XRP is a security. That's what I'm confused about. And it brings in Jeremy Hogan here, thankfully. He says here, I'm responding to the great master Matthew. He says, I agree that the complaint alleges enough to make the argument that XRP is per se a security. But the motion for summary judgment only asks for a judgment that the defendant sold in violation of Section 5. He goes on to say, I don't see how the judge could rule sua sponte for more relief than is requested in the motion in front of her. He says there's no request for an injunction or even for a declaratory judgment, which would put it at issue. He says here, okay, so I think if he has it right here, he says the judge cannot rule XRP to be security since the SEC didn't ask the judge for a consideration. Is that right? And if so, given that XRP can't be found to be a security, why don't exchanges relist XRP? He says, yes, basically, but the law is open to interpretation and John and Bill seem to think otherwise, which is good. Always room for discussion. I love that he highlighted that because that's how I feel. I differentiate between the complaint, which is one thing, and the pending motion, which is related, but also its own separate thing. John Deaton says, I don't disagree with Jeremy that the summary judgment is more controlling, but in the summary judgment, they still make conclusory statement, about XRP, and to purchase XRP is an investment in a common enterprise with other XRP holders and with Ripple. Could they be referencing the XRP ledger as the common enterprise? This is how to look at it, in my opinion, says John Deaton. Assume the judge were to only write the XRP or the SEC motion summary judgment is granted and nothing else. I'm not suggesting she will do that because she won't. But for the sake of discussion, she does. What clarity, if any, do we have? Jeremy Hogan says, technically, we'd still need a monetary judgment at a minimum. So assuming the judgment the judge follows the kick case and the kick judge did, there'd be a disgorgement and then there'd be no pending action. It would be back to XRP having no clarity except for the stigma of the litigation loss. He says, I'm sorry, since we're talking doom and gloom, I have to add the possibility of an injunction against Ripple from selling XRP. What having the entire escrow effectively locked up by the government means, I don't know. Well, someone here says, Bear Hall says, it means the XRP in circulation becomes more valuable. Jeremy Hogan says, you could call it the XRP halving, literally. Now, I tell you, this is some pretty wild speculation here, which I appreciate greatly from Jeremy Hogan. You know, when we pontificate these possible slim outcomes, some people tend to call this conspiracy theory. You know, it's interesting to me how these things go, right? But I love that everybody's chiming in here. You know, I really, really do. And I think all of these things are very much worth considering. Whether it's a 5% chance of an outcome or a 95% chance of an outcome. What I think the best thing to do is to make sure everybody gives everybody else the room they need to be able to express their self, because that's how we get the best out of one another. No question about it. Speaking of which, take a look at this. MasterCard and Hamilton Reserve Bank partner to drive secure cross-border payments. Yes. This is exciting. Why? Well, you'll see. You know, Hamilton Reserve Bank completes Temenos end-to-end digital transformation. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? If you don't remember, Ripple partner Temenos. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal because here's the illustration that shows you just how big a deal it is. Ripple sits right in the middle of Temenos' demonstration of T24, right there. That's why it's a big deal. So we love seeing MasterCard and Hamilton Reserve Bank connected. And let's take a look at price, ladies and gentlemen. It's been on your mind. It's certainly been on mine. What in the world's going on? We don't know. It's not financial advice from me, him, or anyone else in this video. It's just our digital perspectives and sometimes wild speculation. Some would even consider it conspiracy theory. Oh, brother, look at this. 51 cents precise. We hit the first Fibonacci level. Says if we hit that, we could see our way onto 73 and plus after that as well. I tell you, it is exciting to watch. I don't know why it's happening. I don't even pretend to guess. I hope it's from on-demand liquidity sales, but you know, I don't know. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a combination of multiple things, which is probably more likely the case. But I'll tell you this, it is exciting to watch. And until we get clarity, and again, we can't take off the table that we could see a judgment that leaves us with no clarity for the present and the future, and only a judgment for what has happened in the past. That's going to do it for me. Not financial advice, just my digital perspectives. I will catch all of you on the next one. If you haven't done it, Ledger, baby. They got the best deals, but you got to click the link underneath the video to get it. And they got their own exchange, so you can buy and sell directly to your cold wallet. How about that? I'll catch all of you on the next one.